The grand ballroom of a five-star hotel in New York shimmered under golden chandeliers, filled with elite guests dressed in designer gowns and tailored suits. Soft music floated through the air as waiters moved gracefully with trays of champagne. At the center of it all stood Emily, the soon-to-be bride radiating confidence and pride as she greeted guests with a polished smile. Every detail of the evening reflected luxury and control, exactly how she liked it not far from the main stage. A hotel maid stood quietly near the wall, keeping an eye on her young toddler who sat on the marble floor, playing innocently with a silk ribbon that had fallen from a gift. The child's gentle laughter, pure and carefree, began to echo faintly through the elegant space. A few guests smiled at the sweet sound, but Emily's expression slowly tightened. Irritation flickered across her face as she glanced repeatedly toward the child. The laughter continued, soft but noticeable in the otherwise refined atmosphere. Without warning, Emily stepped away from her guests and walked sharply across the room, her heels clicking loudly against the floor. Conversations began to fade as people sensed something unusual reaching the toddler. Emily bent down with a forced smile that didn't reach her eyes. Before anyone could react, she picked up a pair of decorative scissors from a nearby table and swiftly cut a chunk of the child's hair. Gasps rippled through the crowd as the ribbon slipped from the little girl's hands. The toddler froze in confusion before bursting into tears. The maid rushed forward instantly, her face pale with shock, clutching her crying child tightly. The room fell into a heavy silence, guests exchanging stunned looks, unsure how something so cruel could happen so suddenly. The heavy doors of the ballroom opened with a quiet but commanding force, drawing every eye in the room. Conversation stopped completely as a tall, sharply dressed man stepped inside, his presence instantly shifting the atmosphere. Daniel Carter, the billionaire owner of the hotel, walked forward with calm authority, his gaze sweeping across the stunned crowd before settling on the crying child in her mother's arms. The soft music had already faded, leaving only the sound of the toddler's sobs echoing painfully in the silence. Something was clearly wrong, and everyone felt it. Daniel's expression darkened as he approached, his voice steady but cold. "What happened here?" he asked. No one spoke at first, until one guest finally stepped forward and explained the incident in a hushed, uneasy tone. With each word, Daniel's jaw tightened. He looked directly at Emily, who attempted an awkward laugh, brushing it off as a joke that had been misunderstood. But her confidence began to falter under his unwavering stare. The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for his response. "You humiliated my staff and hurt a child," Daniel said firmly, his voice carrying across the entire hall. There was no anger in his tone, only controlled authority, which made it even more powerful. Turning slightly, he signaled security with a simple gesture. Within seconds, guards approached Emily, who now looked visibly shaken. "Please escort her out immediately," Daniel ordered without hesitation. Murmurs spread through the crowd as she was led away, her earlier arrogance completely gone. Daniel then turned back to the maid. His expression softening, he spoke to her gently, assuring her that she and her child would be taken care of, that such behavior would never be tolerated under his roof. The maid's eyes filled with tears, but this time they were mixed with relief. The silence that followed was no longer tense. It carried a sense of justice as the guests stood, witnessing a moment that would not be forgotten.